Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 26th day of October. I've got a great show tonight. Looks like I'm going to have Coach Jay Mills come on the program here in just a few minutes. Congratulations to the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves making the World Series. First World Series for the Braves since 1999. Last time the Braves won the World Series was in 1995. Longtime Braves fan, not huge baseball fan nowadays, but I will say this. Uh, the year that I finally gave up. I mean, I was born in '81, folks, and when I was 10, the Braves lost that game 7 in '91, and then in '92, lost again. I want to say to the Toronto, Philadelphia, always let me down. Then we had the strike in '94. You a half season '95, and I took a liking to that Kenny. I want to say it was Kenny Lofton, David Cone. I may be getting the names mixed up. Indian team. And of course, that was the year the Braves won. My sister went to the World Series that year. So kudos to them. Hope they win this and everything. I want to talk about that Tom Brady 600 ball touchdown situation there. I don't think that was quite enough. And if it were me, big person, and I believe in karma, good karma and everything. Good karma, bad karma, I tell you. But I'll get into that in a little bit. Let's see, what else was I going to get into today? The Tennessee Titans, Kansas City game. What's the issue with that? And of course, like Sam Darnold, there is a rumors going out there, more like reports rather than rumors, that Carolina is now interested in Deshaun Watson. Sam Darnold was benched, and he should have been. I've been talking about him for a few weeks for Carolina in the Giants game. So that is a new player. They were a player before that the team traded for Sam Darnold, and now they're a player again for all reports, and along with Philadelphia and Miami, of course. So I'll go get into a little bit of heads up the Deshaun Watson situation. And a lot of you probably ask, how do I meet all these folks on here? Like I said, I've got Jay Mills coming up here in a few minutes. And Jay, if you've got the link, you can come on in now if you want to. Just click on the link and hit enter studio. But anyways, so one day about a year ago, Pickles, a year and a half, excuse me. I just started adding people in sports fields, some of the local radio personalities here out of Nashville, Tennessee area, and adding their friends. I think it was last summer, not this past summer, but summer before that. And coaches, sports person, anybody will set my friend request. And that's how I met Steph Wood. She was a former basketball player, high school, college. Steph Wood coached the collegiate level, I want to say. She's now a brand builder. Remember, she came on in March of last year, right around the tournament time, right in the middle of the tournament, and she was promoting a college basketball coaching conference. She was in town a few weeks later, met up with her and her manager. She talked about building brands and everything. So I met some interesting people. It's not all negative off social media. You can use it to really connect with folks. And now Jay Mills reached out to me, and well, accepted my friend request. This guy coached for Notre Dame. I haven't got his full introduction here, but under Lou Holtz from 84 to 86, coached with Tim Brown. You guys remember Tim Brown? He was not there for the national championship year, but you coach under a guy like Lou Holtz, you're always going to find out that's one of those run through a brick wall type of people, And also, while I'm thanking people and talking right now, I want to thank my neighbor in my apartment complex, Roy, out of Chicago. He's been talking to local agencies. He works downtown Nashville, Tennessee area. And I want to say he works in like the car detail business. That's his own business there. And he's been talking to Philip Morris, or I think it was like William Morris Agency, AME, CAA, reaching out to people and talk. And I want to thank Roy. I know Roy watches the program from time to time for reaching out, even though I want to say it was a woman from Philip Morris that said that I needed 40,000 subscribers or whatever. And I didn't send him one of my highest viewed programs, but I said, well, I wanted you to, just show this agent the substance of Sports Scope. What separates this show from the other shows is I try to give the facts. I try to be a non-narrative person. A lot of people get caught up in their own narrative. They never want to admit they're wrong. That's what, brutal honesty is not really acceptable nowadays. We've saw with this cancel culture coming up. But let's see if Jay's got my link here. Hasn't came through yet. I'll keep an eye out. Let me see if I can go back and invite Jay one more time here. Copy to clipboard, Gmail. Stand by, folks. We're going to send a link again to the coach here. COACH, coach@jmills.com. View message. Okay. So, yeah, coach, if you get this, click in the... Let's see. Sometimes this thing is... Oh, here we go. Enter back in the studio. Here we go, folks. All right. Thank you, Olivia. Wait a minute. That might be an older show. Yeah. Let's try this again here. All right, folks. We are back here. And the clock is still going. So I want to see if Jay has gotten my invite. Resent it. And this is what it is like to do things on live. But hey, it'll work out. It'll come through here in just a little bit of time, and I can still go on and see. But yeah, Jay, if you get it, just hit enter studio, and I'll bring you on board on the program. Sometimes I have issues with this, but it is what it is. So anyways, yeah, so that was really cool of Roy to do that. A guy that just sees me, he sees me leave this place, my complex, sometimes when it's dark outside, and I drive for 12 hours. And then he sees me come back when it's dark outside for a few years now. And he seen my logo and asked me about it on my car one day. And we started talking. And he said, I'll plug for you, man. I'll try to get you an agent. I said, well, I haven't worked. I've got the degree and everything. I've started this about 4 years ago with just my cell phone on the Periscope app. That's how I came up with the Sports Scope app there. And let's see. So I know he's got, trying to see if Jay is coming in here. I'm looking at two screens here at once. But, that was pretty cool of it. The guy sees me putting in the work here, And folks, I'm waiting to see if Jay can get my invite here. And if not, we will try it again. will definitely try this thing again. Hey, Linda, thank you for liking Sports Scope. You guys got a great show over there. By the way, Sundays I go on the Mac and Jack Big Show with former Super Bowl champion Jim Jeffcoat. Jim Jeffcoat played for the Dallas Cowboys. We break down the games each week, and he also does a show on Wednesday on Northeast Streaming Sports on YouTube and Facebook on Wednesdays. Where they bring in guys like they're going to bring in Herschel Walker. That is 7 p.m. Central Time on Wednesdays. Let's see if he came in here. Guys, I'm here, and yeah, it's really good show there. Reese, I'm writing a text back here. Let's see if it came through here. My friend here, Jace, may have a try it one more time in case something goes about. And I've got the invite here in case something's came up. Guys, I'm waiting for Jay Mills. Coach Jay Mills, guy I used to coach with. He's doing a book. Now he's wanting to try a different email. So I'm going to try this. Stand by, folks. We're gonna get this right here. Let's see. Gmail here. Okay. JAY at PLEAS ANT .cc. Check that. Okay, I'm sending something back. Folks, just kind of bear with me here. And we will see if Jay got this other thing in here. So we got 5 audience. So guys, stand by. I'm here to about to interview Jay Mills, former coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and Harvard. You know, Jay was an assistant. There was also, I want to say, executive director at Pleasant Valley Community Church in Owensboro, Kentucky, head coach at Georgia Southern, assistant Notre Dame 84 to 86 under Lou Holtz, Tim Brown, assistant at Boise State, Harvard, Minnesota Morris. And I'm waiting for him to click on this thing and see if we can get this going in here. Sometimes I've had problems out of StreamYard, but for the most part, we do get it right. We get it right, and folks be able to come in. But normally he would pop up here on my small screen, and that's what I'm waiting on. Let's see. Good deal. Yeah, Jay just hit it. Enter studio. There you are.
How are you?
Hey. Well, hey, I really appreciate you being patient with me there, Coach. Do you go by Jay, Coach, Mr. Mills, Doctor?
Either I answer to anything you choose will be fine.
Okay. Good deal, my friend. So, okay.
Oh, froze.
So, what did you? I could not find what position did you start off at? Were you defensive coach, linebacker? What? It just says assistants on your bio.
Yeah, so I was mostly on offense in my 30 years, 28 years on offense, only 2 years on defense. I was on defense at Notre Dame with Coach Holtz, and I spent 1 year only 1 year as a head coach. I focused more on the defense, but even as a head coach, I was usually running the offense.
Oh, okay. So you got a chance to work with Tim Brown.
I did. I was very pleased. Now I had Tim. Was a punt returner, and I had the punt returners one year, and it was one of the easiest jobs you could ever have with Tim Brown. Just get him onto the field and
Man.
point him in the right direction. That's about all you needed to do.
So what was his? Did you guys take 40 times in college at that time?
We did. I don't recall what Tim was. He was very fast, but I'd be lying to you if I told you exactly what he is. But he definitely got faster when he got in the NFL too. I know his work ethic got him there, but he was very fast from the very outset.
Yeah, you know something? I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, but I've always made an argument for the quarterbacks he played with. I think he was very consistent year in and year out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
I think he did get elected into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I know it was a little bit of delay there with Tim Brown. Anyways, Coach, so what made you want to write a book?
Well, I was driving between between Tacoma and Seattle many years ago. I was 28 years of age, and I really sensed the Lord telling me to write a book. And I joke in the acknowledgement section of the book, I said, I hope everyone doesn't follow my lead and take 30 years before they do what they've been called to do. But so it had been on my mind for many years. I tried to start at one time before, but when you're a college football coach, and particularly at the level I was at, you're pretty busy 24/7, 365, so it made it difficult. So finally, about 5 years ago, I set out to get it done, and excited that as of last Wednesday, October 20th, it came to fruition.
Yes, sir. You can find this book on Amazon that I know of. Now, I want to tell the audience here, the name of this book is called Game On, A Coach's Game Plan for Discipleship by Jay Mills. Just like it's wrote on my screen, everybody. You got to put Game On by Jay Mills. It comes right up when you do that. If you put Game On, that gives you all kinds of other books. I don't know if you've noticed that in the search engine.
Well, I hadn't looked that far and such, but actually my assistant, she told me that was the case, that there was some others with that name as well. So I didn't have the copyright privileges to the name overall, I guess. But yeah, so it's an exciting day. It was also the day, would have celebrated my dad's 81st birthday. That's the reason why I chose that day. And he was a coach for many years, and still who I regard as the greatest coach I was ever around. So that was in part due that date to an honor of him.
Yeah, Pickles. He said Game On by Jay Mills. So your dad got you started in the coach. Is that what your love for coaching became through your dad?
He did. I grew up around it. You know, I was taping ankles of his high school players when I was like 7th and 8th grade playing ball and such. So I lived, ate, and breathed football for many, many years. And the interesting thing was that I got to college and really did not have a good college experience and wanted as far away from college football as I could get. And Lord led me to coaching college football. So I think in a lot of ways, the reason why I got into it was I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do some things that I thought would be beneficial that maybe I did not get a chance to experience when I was playing myself. So hopefully I made it a meaningful opportunity and some treasured moments for the young men that were under my tutelage.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, you say you had a bad experience. You know, I'm a person of faith too. Sometimes my worst experience is where I get, you know, the biggest learning experience for me. So what happened in college that it's just not a good experience for you?
Well, I think there was a couple things, and one was, you know, was my responsibility because football was so important to me, and it was too much of an importance. And when my story is that when I got to my senior year in high school, my dad being a coach, I had lived, ate, and breathed football, as I mentioned before, and I wanted that college football scholarship. And when that National Letter of Intent Day came, I didn't get it. And that was my first experience of being a broken man. And I couldn't even go to school that day. My mom sat down and prayed with me. And 24 hours later, I got a phone call and it led towards a scholarship. Well, a couple years later, and I'll get back to kind of some of the other things that led towards me separating from playing. But I gave up that same scholarship, and I got a call the next day. And I thought, this was even before some individuals named Blackaby and King wrote a book called Experiencing God. I saw markers there. I thought,
Yeah.
it can't be just a coincidence that the day after I don't get the scholarship, I get a call, and the day after I give up the same scholarship, I get a call to go coach at a local high school to be the offensive coordinator. So I decided to check it out, and that's what initially led towards my coaching career. In fact, we won the state championship that year, so I joke and say that I knew there was only one way to go as a high school coach, and that was downhill. So I moved up to the collegiate level. But I think it was a couple things. One was there's a turnover that happened from the coaching staff that brought me in to a coaching staff that came on board. Secondly, I think the thing it was too much about the game and not about the young men. And so what I tried to do when I became a head coach was to make it about the student athlete, a whole person development model, not just the physical, but the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, not just on the field, but the academics and so forth too. I wanted to be well-rounded, and I thought that would produce victories on the field, but victories in life as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you never really actually played college? You just went right into coaching?
No, I played for 2 years, and
Okay.
so it was after the 2 years. And now when I say play, I use that term loosely because I didn't play much.
So you like Rudy or something?
Yeah, I redshirted my first year. The second year, I started playing some, but it was important to me. I don't want to live my life with regret. And I tell people that we all want success. We're all going to have failure, but the difference between failure and regret is I knew I could have done something more. I could have done something better, and I passed on that opportunity. That's what's difficult. And so I thought about leaving the game a year earlier, but I wanted to make sure that it was out of my system. I wanted to make sure it wasn't about playing time and these types of things, because I'd seen a lot of young men under my dad that had quit playing early and regretted it, or in one case in particular, one young man that didn't come out till his senior year in high school, loved it, but he passed up all those opportunities before because, athletics, as you know, it has a finite career. It's a start and a finish, and you can't go back. You can go back and change your major in college. You can buy a different house or a car or change jobs, but when it's over athletically.
The coach now, he's the head coach. I'm sure you can help me out. I can't call his name right off the top of my head, but he's the current head coach of North Carolina Tar Heels and football. And he used to coach for Texas. And the night before they won the national championship, he tells the team the year they played in 2005 against USC, Pickles will probably be able to help me out here. He said, don't let this be the biggest moment in your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the last thing that you think any coach would say. He said, do not let this be the biggest moment, win or lose.
Absolutely. Well, I tell a story in the first chapter, in fact, of my book about having lunch with Joe Theismann. And while I was at Notre Dame on the coaching staff, and this was the summer after he had the career-ending injury when he was tackled by Lawrence Taylor on Monday Night Football. And, of course, that's the lead-in of the movie, The Blind Side, in the book.
Oh, man, that's hard to watch.
Yeah, and so we sat down and talked and had lunch, and Joe Yanto, one of the coaches on the staff at Notre Dame, was also with me. And he went out and talked with the team that afternoon. And here's what he told the team. He said, in football and athletics in general, very few people get to choose when they get to end their career. Yeah. Most people, it's chosen for them. And you never know whether it's, somebody cutting you, if it's NFL, or eligibility comes to a close. Of course, that is known, or an injury that can occur. So you got to enjoy every moment you have. But the other reminder is, too, you got to prepare for time and life after football, too. It's more than just a game, and it's a wonderful game. I love watching it and supporting others in it, too. But there's other parts of our lifespan that we need to tend to as well.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. You said you coached with Lou Holtz for 2 years of what I got from your bio. Is that 84 to 86, right?
Well, I was 2 years with Jerry Faust, 84 and 85 seasons, and then 1 year with Lou Holtz, 86.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. He came in 86, And then 2 years later, he won that national championship, and you moved on to another gig. I guess you got a better gig there.
Well, I joked and I tell people, I said, well, got his feet wet for him and made sure he was all settled. And
You
then I
set the
moved
tone.
on and he could take it from there. But
Yeah.
no, my joke has really been that every place I've kind of coached, and where I've been, they've won a championship or had some sort of significant milestone after I've left. So, I said, I didn't want to get that or let that get around because people keep kicking me out the door, I think, because they know good things come after I leave. So
you're like Tony Dungy. You set the tone.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I joked with our lead pastor at my last church when I told him that recollection. He said, well, how soon can you pack your bag? So anyway, he got a kick out of it too.
So you're a pastor now. So you grew up in a faith-based home. You was talking about praying with your mother. Mm-hmm. So what inspired you to become a pastor? A lot of us say we get the calling. Was it a lifelong dream or just have an epiphany? How'd that come about?
Yeah, transitioning. Great question. I tell you where it began, and it was in Long Beach, California. I was out recruiting. I was the head coach at Charleston Southern University, and we had done very, very well in the program at that point in time. And I was between school visits and home visits, and I was getting gas at a gas station convenience store. And a couple of homeless individuals came up to me and asked for money, and I was in a hurry, and so I gave money to the attendant at the convenience store, and I said, anything that they'd like to have in the store other than alcohol and tobacco, it's on me. And I took off, felt like I'd done my good deed for the day and had done something similar a number of times before. And I've been reading a book by Francis Chan at the time, and it was impactful. But in the middle of the night, I woke up and I just sensed the Lord saying, "Is that it? Is that the most you can sacrifice? Is that the best you can do?" And I really sensed at the moment that maybe, again, as a coach, football had become too important. I was hoping that the Lord would stake me in my career and I would use that to honor him. I was committed to him, but I think what I learned was to be surrendered. And I thought about resigning at that point in time, but it wasn't the right time. But over the next couple of years, a transition kind of occurred. But there was one moment in December 2012. Again, I had that sense, that stirring from the Spirit that said, now's the time. And so I set out like Abraham, and I say to people, to a destination unknown. I did not know where it would be. And part of my testimony, and I share with people, is we all want to have all the answers right now. We want to go from A to Z, but that's not what usually happens. We get revealed where B is, and then when we're obedient and we answer B, then C becomes available to us, and so forth and so on. But that spring took about 4 months as I kind of sought to where I would go and the direction, and that led me eventually to vocational ministry. I became ordained as a pastor. I've loved the experience, and I tell people I really am still coaching, and that's kind of the premise of the book, is that whatever role we have, wherever we're at, we are a type of coach. A coach is defined, and Kevin Hall gave this definition in his book, Aspire. He said, a coach remains something or someone who takes a valued person from where they are to where they'd like to be. And so that's what we're to do. My book synopsis is 5 words: coaches transform and coaches transport. We're to transform to be a better version of ourselves, to be more like Jesus Christ. And we're to take other people on the same journey with us. So It's not just about us, it's about what we can do for others.
So you got a quote from Dabo Swinney. How do you know Dabo? Is that like a coaching Christian conference, something of that nature? Did y'all meet through one of those circles? I know it's a fraternity there with the coaches.
Yeah, when you get to have the white hair like I do, you get a few more connections and bump into people. But Dabo's the real deal. He's an awesome, obviously, coach and an even better person, and a man of faith as well. And, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure where we met for the first time. I was at Charleston Southern University which is in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
He's at Clemson, obviously. So I don't know if we were at a clinic together or some conference or something maybe we were speaking at, where it might have been. But I remember one time even, being in the car with him riding somewhere, and I don't even remember what that was. It might have been at a coach's convention. But so I don't know where it kind of began, but, he knew of me. I reached out to him when I wrote the book and approached him. He was very receptive, and I'm very appreciative of his support, Lou Holtz's support, writing the foreword.
Yeah.
A number of others, Jim Caldwell, speaking of coaches, former head coach of the Detroit Lions and Indianapolis Colts, and so many others. Very grateful for these wonderful people.
Yeah, I really like Jim Caldwell. Tony Dungy. Again, guys, great book, Quiet Strength. Tony Dungy, a week before this John Gruden email scandal came out, Tony Dungy, writer of Quiet Strength, he says, with this cancel culture and everything going on, whatever happened to just forgiveness? We are so unforgiving as a society. What are your thoughts on this whole cancel culture and this lack of forgiveness in society nowadays?
Well, I know that I know that I seek forgiveness and need to have the grace of God, and because I'm imperfect and I've made a lot of decisions I'd like to have back over again as well. So I'm grateful for the grace that's been extended to me, and as much as possible, I try to extend that as well. Because if we're gonna be living in the flesh, which we are obviously, imperfection is going to occur. But I think there's a couple different things. There's a difference between forgiveness and trust. As a Christ follower, I know we're called to forgive. Scripture is very supportive of that, and at the same point in time, we're not called necessarily to trust again. In some cases, we'd be foolish to put ourselves in a position if we've been hurt and there hasn't been repentance from the other person. So repentance is, forgiveness is our choice. Yeah. And just like love is a choice. And so I can choose to forgive someone, but it doesn't mean that they're going to repent, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to hurt me again. So, or my family. So I need to be protective as well. So I try to define that for the people that I speak with and the people that I counsel as yes, forgive, absolutely. Because when we don't, as our lead pastor just spoke on it this past weekend, it said, when we don't forgive, we become bitter. And what happens is we think that when we hold on to that resentfulness, it's like drinking the poison and expecting somebody else to die. It only
I heard that quote this past week. Yeah,
it only hurts us. So we forgive, but again, we need to use wisdom as far as whether we put ourselves in a position to trust again.
Okay. So the name of this book, again, I wanted to make sure and let everybody know, it's called Game On, A Coach's Game Plan for Discipleship. Now, folks, make sure and put the Game On by Jay Mills, just like it is here, Mills on my screen. That's how you can find it in the search engines. And I'm sure you can find it at Books A Million as well.
I'm not sure where it's Barnes and Noble. I know you can get
Barnes and Noble. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I found it off Amazon. I'm going to order it and I'm going to read it. I might not finish it till the summertime. It's a busy time of year. I drive 12 hours a day. I'm a courier during the day, and I'm trying to get this program off the ground. I appreciate you reaching out to me. Hey, let me ask you, do you have a Lou Holtz story? Everybody's got one, a saying or story or anything.
Well, I'm going to, there's a couple of times I speak about him in the book. I have the greatest admiration for Coach Holtz. It was 35 years ago we first connected on the job there, and I'm grateful that he gave me the opportunity to stay on the staff at Notre Dame. But I'm so appreciative of everything that he's done and done.
Hold on,
Coach. I really appreciate. With football.
Yeah. A little signal issue there. Let me make sure. Can you see me? Okay. We had a little signal problem there. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was just saying he'd be successful in whatever he did, whether he was a football coach or in something else.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything in. And there's a couple things that I mentioned in the book, stories and so forth. But I'm just very grateful for the support that he's given me over the course of time, and everything I've learned. I think the thing that I followed him around for that year, took notes, unbelievably detailed notes, and everything he said. Had a micro cassette recorder and recorded things. And I used the things I learned from him in that one year, the rest of my coaching career, and I still use it in ministry, the principles that he taught. And so I'm definitely a better person for having been around him that short period of time. And it's one of the highlights of my life.
So 35 years ago, when you met this guy, did you think to yourself, he's going to win a national championship one of these days? Did you think he was that special?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that stood out is he is so positive and confident. And, in any group of 10 people, there's one leader and 9 followers generally. And he was a leader. And the 9 followers are going to follow somebody. They're going to follow a negative influence or they're going to follow a positive influence. And he was so positive. I said it was almost like people fed off of him and that inner strength that he had. And so when he said something, it resonated with the young men that were on the team and the coaches as well. So the best team doesn't, the best group of athletes doesn't always win. It's the best team. And he was able to bring out the best in the people around him. And, so there was just something special about him. So there was no doubt in my mind that he would get to that point, and how quickly he did it in 3 seasons was pretty amazing.
Yeah, really. I mean, he was on a roll there. I know Dan Patrick used to say, they put their pants on the same way we do, or we put our pants on the same way they do. Talking about Lou Holtz,
Mm-hmm.
Dan Patrick at ESPN. So he just had that kind of positive energy that was this, and that's always, he's funny, and a lot of people make fun of the way he would talk, but that's this, what is it? Imitation is a part of flattery or whatnot. So what do you think about Notre Dame now? Do you think Brian Kelly could ever win a national championship with this team, the way things are now?
I don't know. This year, I don't think it's going to occur. I mean, I think that he's had a great career there. Of course, he's now the winningest coach in Notre Dame history. And I got
Who would ever thought that, beating Lou Holtz and Newt Rockne? I mean, that's an interesting stat right there.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And he's had a great deal of success there. A former assistant coach that I was with at Harvard has been on the staff there for quite some time as well. So they have the resources, they have the name, and he's an outstanding coach, obviously. So I think there's definitely a possibility that can happen in the future. I think this year, we'll see what happens, but it's going to be hard, I think, to get in, having lost to Cincinnati. It's very difficult for the independent school to get in sometimes.
Yeah. So who do you like? Do you still follow college football?
Oh, yeah. I watch it very regularly. In fact, this weekend I'm going to fly to see a son and his fiance, and we're going to head to the Iowa State West Virginia game. In Morgantown. My brother is on the coaching staff at Iowa State.
Really? I like Matt Campbell, man. I'm very surprised he hasn't been hired away yet.
I think he's had opportunities and he's enjoyed it there, and they've now done some really neat things to support him there in the football program, and it's benefited the university. So I'm excited about my brother being there, having that opportunity. He's had a great career as well and followed in our dad's footsteps also. But and then I spent a lot of time watching football on Saturdays at home. When I retired from coaching, I got a big screen TV. It was 90 inches, and I got some power recliners. And I joke with people. I say, I get my big gulp, my dog, and my junk food. And I said, if I could hook up a catheter, I'd stay in that chair all day long and never leave. So,
man,
it's been fun.
That sounds like heaven right there. You talk about a man of faith. I mean, I hope they have a football league up there, Reggie White and all those guys.
Yeah,
so who do you like to who do you think is going to be in the playoff this year?
Well, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but Alabama and Georgia seem to be kind of a cut above, and
Yeah.
I would think the next ones that are vying for it. I mean, I know Cincinnati's going after it, doing everything they can. Their schedule again kind of negates some of the things they'd like to get done, but probably looking towards Ohio State, I'm thinking, and if I was a betting person, probably Oklahoma would be the other one. Although I want Oklahoma to go down to Iowa State. I want Iowa State to win the Big 12, obviously.
Oh, okay. And so your brother, what does he do there at Iowa State?
He's defensive quality control there.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, man. Oklahoma, I thought that was a heck of a move, grabbing Spencer Rattler out of that Texas game like that and putting Caleb Williams in there. I mean, you putting a true freshman in like that. I mean, that was unheard of back in your day, right? Putting a true freshman in.
It's very unique, and at times, especially a high-charged environment like that, that's not a walk in the park, that's for sure. But he sure responded very well in that game. Has done some good things since then too. So those are some of the tough decisions that coaches have to make at times. And if they end up being successful, and sometimes you don't know if it's going to be successful or not, you get a lot of credit, and of course you get a lot of criticism if it doesn't go well too. But that's just the nature of the game and the nature of the position as a coach.
Have you ever got any hate mail?
Hate mail
as a head coach?
I don't know if I don't recall any hate mail. No, but probably had.
I know fan is short for fanatic. Coach.
Well, I'll give you a Lou Holtz quote. Lou Holtz used to say, when things are going well, he said, they give you sometimes a lifetime contract, and a lifetime contract for a coach means if you're ahead at the end of the third quarter, they'll let you finish the game. So it's a very tenuous position.
Oh man, this is fun. I really appreciate you coming on at this hour. I apologize for having to do this interview so late, but it's the only time I can do. So now you working in you work in a church now, right? You're executive director. I'm looking for your
yes, and executive director, executive pastor, at a church in Owensboro, Kentucky now.
Okay, nice.
And guys, a few months ago.
Are you still working there as that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm working at the church here. I'm proud to be at this church. Wonderful church, great people, excellent lead pastor, and wonderful staff. And then I have on the other thing I'm very involved in is the Coach J Mills ministry. And so CJM, we call it. Now, what I do is, among other things, I'm speaking and writing. As you know, I just did a Power Up Sports Ministry national conference. They're a arm of Our Daily Bread. So I was the keynote speaker up there a couple weeks ago. And then I produce each month a newsletter, and I know you receive this, called Coaching Points. Yeah. And I also produce, in fact, just released one today, the 33rd of a video series that's called Chalk Talks. And Coaching Points newsletter and the Chalk Talks video, they focus on biblically based coaching principles for personal and professional growth. So, and I offer free of charge to anyone who would like to subscribe. So, and I make it simple. Let me just mention this. To subscribe to receive it, all an individual needs to do is text the letters CJM, stands for Coach J Mills, to the short code 33777. And when they text CJM to 33777, they'll be prompted. They'll receive a welcome letter almost immediately and a sample of the newsletter as well as the videos, and they'll get the regular free resources each month.
Oh, wow. Well, Coach, I really appreciate all this. This is awesome.
My pleasure.
The name of this book, again, guys, Game On, A Coach's Game Plan for Discipleship by J Mills. Make sure and put in your search bar, Game On, and then by J Mills, just like it says on the screen, folks. Make sure and do that. Order this book. It's a good man right here doing good things.
Thank you so much. And it comes in ebook version, paperback, hardcover, And within the next couple of weeks, there'll also be an audiobook version of it as well.
You know what? I may go that route since I drive so many hours.
No, that's a great point. And you'll have to put up with my voice because I'm the narrator of it as well.
Hi, you're pretty good. You're pretty good. I just get to listen and I forget to ask questions, you know?
Very good.
Well, thank you, Coach. I'm going to get back to the program. You have a good night. And again, folks, go out and get Game On by Jay Mills.
Thank you so much. A pleasure being on. I appreciate it, Robert.
Hey, no problem. See ya. All right, everybody. You heard that. Want to get back to the program here. And, you know, talking about football, and particularly, folks, the NFL, the NFL, the beauty about the NFL is 2 years ago, today is October the 26th, all right, 2021. 2 years ago, Cincinnati, by the way, Coach Jay Mills is out of Owensboro, which is pretty close to Cincinnati. And this team with a coach, Zach Taylor, a former quarterback coach under Sean McVay, with Andy Dalton, they were like 0-7. They were like Detroit is right now. They look like a total train wreck. You can run on them. You can throw on them. Andy Dalton under Zach Taylor with Cincinnati. I thought that a position coach jumping all the way to head coach like that would be a complete disaster, and it was. And as that season went along, I want to say that they benched Andy Dalton. They won one game, folks. And after that, April, we're talking in the pandemic, April 2020 last year, they draft a guy, Joe Burrows, out of LSU. Now, Joe Burrows is so good that now newly fired Ed Orgeron was his coach then. They have a magical season, undefeated, unstoppable offense, one of the greatest seasons of all time. Burrow goes on to this bad Cincinnati team I was talking about just 2 years ago, 24 months ago. Lost just about every single game, got the number one pick. They select Joe Burrows. Burrows gets drafted. There was no training camp hardly. There was no pre-camps. That was really when the pandemic was taking off. Plays a little bit last year. You could see some of the flashes early on. They beat a team like the Titans that made the AFC Championship game in 2019, right? Ultimately losing to Kansas City. This guy tears his ACLs, MCL, PCL, and the Joe Burrow does. Wrote for dead. They had a pretty good offseason that year. Picked up some pieces on the offensive line. Got some people like Trey Henderson on the defensive line. And he progresses very fast, Joe Burrow. They draft Jamar Chase. I thought they should have took left tackle Penei Sewell when they had Tyler Boyd and Higgins there at wide receiver. But fast forward until now, Sunday, they beat Baltimore. It's like 41 to 20 something, 26, whatever, right? And they are 7-2 now. I want to say, or 6-2. Either way, they are the number. If the playoffs started today, the Cincinnati Bengals would be the number one seed in the AFC. Not even basketball, Pickles. It took LeBron a few years, not just one, to get the one seed in the AFC. Or in the East, in the NBA. Not even basketball. But with the NFL and the way they have non-guaranteed contracts, with the draft, with free agency, and the salary cap, which means teams can't stack and stack and stack, you can flip your roster in a year and a half, and with a great quarterback, with a real, true franchise quarterback like Joe Burrow, you can go from the outhouse to the penthouse. Sometimes 12 months, sometimes. Andrew Luck got to the playoffs the first year. But remember, mind you, that before Peyton got hurt, they were in the playoffs every year with Peyton Manning. So this tells you how good a guy like Joe Burrow really is. You know, I still say they need some pieces on the offensive line. I'm not sure they're going to finish this season as the number 1 seed. But if I'm Joe Burrow, his dad, he's a coach's son. His dad watched SportsCode. I advise him to play this thing out. Don't sign anything. He can play his 4 years. They're going to pick up the 5th year option. They will probably franchise him that 6th year. And that between that 4th year and that 6th year, when you franchise a player, that means you are the top 5 of that position. There's no telling the time he gets a franchise what a franchise tag would be. We're probably talking $42 to $45 million for that. And if they do it a second franchise, it's even that much more, and it's fully guaranteed. That's kind of like the situation we had with Dak Prescott. But Mike Brown, who is the owner / GM, has done some unorthodox, like Mike Brown things. That's what one guy can do. One quarterback could do for your organization. They were pretty good in 2004, 5, and 6 with Carson Palmer and TJ Houshmandzadeh, Chad Johnson, that group, Marvin Lewis when he first got there. But other than that, going all the way back to 89 with Boomer Esiason with that Super Bowl team. But between those gaps, between 1989 and 2006, this team was a bottom feeder. It just tells you what a quarterback. Now you say, well, what about Matt Stafford? What about him? You know, they did get to the playoffs with him. They did get to the playoffs, but this Joe Burrow's a real deal. He is a true franchise quarterback. He's lifting up a guy that was a quarterback coach, wasn't even a coordinator. It is amazing of what he has been able to accomplish. Guys like him, they elevate the entire team. I said this about Josh Allen a year ago, that when he took over as a starter, the defense played better. His first game as a starter, Josh Allen, a few years ago now, 2018 actually, a player retired at halftime. They were getting beat so bad. I forgot his name now, but they were getting beat so bad in Miami that a player retired at halftime. And they were 17-point underdogs the very next week at Minnesota. And the players had seen how good Josh Allen was in practice. And they beat Minnesota decisively. Minnesota had came off an NFC championship game in 2017. Buffalo, one of the worst defenses in the league. They held these guys to like 9 points, beat them like 27. It was the biggest upset of that year. But my point is, guys like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Tom Brady with Tampa, they lift both sides of the ball. And I was telling my dad about this a few years ago, that Peyton Manning lifted that Bronco team up like that. They just lift the whole team up on both. I never seen anything like that. you know. So, but that just tells you that's why the NFL is the number one TV show. Still, with all this streaming, all these channels, networks, that is the number one. It's still the number one TV show in the entire world, particularly the Super Bowl. So anyways, there's another big story, guys, and I'm not going to get to everything today because I wanted to take a lot of this time to talk to Coach Mills. Tom Brady threw his 600th touchdown the other day, and I'll say this. If you guys, you won't believe this, but the competition for Brady, as far as where everybody else stands, and I'm trying to find this right now. Looks like I had to go back in my notes here. He's doubled guys like John Elway. Now, I know this is a different era and whatnot, but he has doubled guys like Montana and Elway for touchdowns. They're like 300 and something, you know. And of course, now that I can't find, I'm just so discombobulated today, folks. This will come up here in just a second. Either way, so he throws this 600 touchdown pass, and no, I cannot find it. I thought I had it. Oh, here we go. This is from CBS. John Elway's got 300. Joe Montana's got 273. Steve Young, 232. Terry Bradshaw, 212. Kurt Warner, 208. Troy Aikman, 165. It's more than double the amounts. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. But anyways, so this guy Mike Evans catches the touchdown, gives it to a fan, did not know it was the 600. And long story short, equipment manager, somebody say, that's your 600 touchdown. And Brady's like, oh, well. And so they go back. A representative for the team goes back and says, well, we'll give you some signed jerseys. We'll give you signed Mike Evans cleats and $1,000 store credit, 2 season passes for 2 years. And the guy gives the ball back. And Jim Nantz makes a big deal about it on Tracy Wolfson. She talks about it on CBS Live during the game. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were saying, well, you got robbed. You got robbed. And it's not a good deal. So the next day we find out this guy like Ken Goldwyn, founder of Goldwyn Auction, says that football's worth $500,000. And this guy, this young guy, 29-year-old, I think his name is like, let's see, what is his name here? I think I wrote it down here, folks. Hold on. But this guy's like a finance guy. He's really like a fanboy type of player, type of person. Had real good seats there. But either way, he says that, he agrees to give the ball back. And then, you got a lot of back and forth. Then Tom Brady comes on and says, well, I'm also going to give him a Bitcoin. I don't know too much about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but this particular Bitcoin is worth $65,000. And I was doing the math on everything I just read you guys, and you throw the Bitcoin in there, and you're still up to, the guy says he would like to play a round of golf with Brady. Brady's TB12 says, have a complimentary body coach session with the coach there if you want. And so the guy seems to be satisfied with all that. But I'll say this. As a person who is a person of faith, who believes in tithing, who believes in good karma, That adds up to about $100,000. Let's round it up to $100,000 worth of merchandise, season tickets for this year and next year, 2 season tickets for the rest of this year and next year. You throw all that in there. You throw the Bitcoin thing in there. It's 65. So you're up to about 100. And that auctioneer says it's worth $500,000 at an auction. If I'm Brady, and he's trying to push this TB12 health, fitness, lifestyle product, which is going to go way after he's playing football. And this is so publicized. I asked him, I got a check because I've got Brady's money here for $400,000. And I say, are you sure you don't want the difference in cash? And I'm going to make sure that we are filming this. And he likes to post everything. And by the way, I'm going to start posting more. I know that's what the brand builders do. And for what this lady said from Philip Morris, I've got to get my subscribers up to get agent. Got to get that up. So I'm going to have to start posting more. It's something I don't want to do and go live and post more. So I'm going to start doing that. But going back to Brady, that's what I do. I say, here's $400,000. Do you sure you don't want? If Brady don't want to spend time with this guy, I understand. I'm not really a people's person myself. If he don't want to spend time with this guy, that's what I would do. I would say, here's a check. I will give you this check for $400,000. Just saying, you know. And whether you want it or not, we're offering it to you here right on the spot. All this, it's the right thing to do. Get out of here, man. You know, a lot of money like that. Brady's worth 100 million plus 200. That kind of, you know, a football worth $500,000 is nothing to Brady. You know. So, anyways, moving right along. Just wanted to say my piece on the Tom Brady thing. There's been news again. There has been news on the Deshaun Watson front, and I wanted to play this. This was Monday from Ian Rappaport NFL Network on Deshaun Watson and the suitors. Listen up.
A good chance, I would say, if that is not the case, by the time the November 2nd trade deadline rolls around. I'm told that the Houston Texans
a week from today
engaged with multiple teams. I know there was a report last week about the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins do have some interest. Obviously, there has been some dialogue with the Houston Texans, but they are not alone. Another team to watch, the Carolina Panthers. They have not been shy about making a trade. As GM Scott Fitterer once said, they want to be in every trade. I would expect them to have conversations as well. There may be other teams. The Eagles have been another team that have been rumored to be interested in Deshaun Watson. And, of course, there are several other factors. His legal situation is as yet right now unresolved. That is another factor to consider. And we should also add, if a team does trade for Deshaun Watson, who is in good shape and ready to play right now, the indications from the NFL is that he would not be placed on the commissioner's exempt list, because that is essentially if you have been charged with a violent crime or a felony. That does not appear right now to apply to Deshaun Watson. So the belief is
because, like I was saying with Back and Jack the other day, Pickles, Deshaun Watson has not been charged with a violent crime nor a felony. He's being sued for sexual assault. That's been reported to the police, but he has not been charged. That was back in May. That's why I think this is going to blow over. He mentioned the Eagles, and Rappaport did. Pat McAfee says there's a story that says he don't want to go to Philadelphia. If I'm Houston, Philadelphia is the first call that I take. Why? Because they've got 3 first-round picks. They've got Miami's from next year. Look what Miami's doing. They've got 1 win. They've got they've got the Colts. They got the Colts first round, and then they have their first round with Jalen Hurts, a guy that I was never sold on in college. And then of course, he also talked about Carolina. Well, Carolina benched Sam Darnold. They benched Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has got 8 interceptions. That is 29th in the NFL. That's 29th most in the NFL, Sam Darnold. He also gave up a safety, Pickles, on Sunday. Sunday's loss to the New York Giants, Sam Darnold did. I know they traded a second-round pick last year, but I can tell Matt Rule he was benched for P.J. Walker. Sounds like a whiskey. A guy that played in the AAF a couple of years ago. Now, Matt Rule says that Darnold will be back. I made my mind up on Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Teddy Bridgewater, Alex Smith, Jameis Winston, Pickles. All those quarterbacks I just named are stopgap backup quarterbacks. They're high-quality backups, and they are not starting quarterbacks. You cannot win a Super Bowl with those guys. That's it, Pickles. I've made my mind up on Sam Darnold. You cannot. He's too reckless. He's 4 years in the league now, 4 or 5 years. He's not. He's got too many bad habits. He's right there with your Jameis Winstons of the world, which he's gotten better, mind you. But Baker, those guys are high uptown backups. I said that about Marcus Mariota, and I was right. The same thing with him. Maybe one of these guys go to a different organization, Darnold, and they have like a Ryan Tannehill type of moment. But I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Any of those teams, and I don't even think Vince Young's a good backup, Pickles. Pickles from Lebanon says Vince Young. I don't even think he's a good backup. But these guys are solid backups. I don't even know if Darnold's a great backup because he turns the ball over too much. Pretty good athlete. He's too reckless, and he just doesn't learn. You know, I had him as comeback player of the year. Did not work out. So if you're Houston, you talk to Philadelphia first, but Miami now. I know Tua's had a good game the last 2 weeks, 77% completion percentage, but mind you, that is against Jacksonville and yes, improved Atlanta. So we're talking one of the highest QBRs in the NFL in Deshaun Watson. I think this is all going to blow over. This section, all this stuff, I think he's going to settle it. I don't even think that the commissioner is going to suspend him. If he does, 4 to 8 games, 6 minimum, if that. And then you've got a 26, 27-year-old franchise quarterback who could play another 8 to 10 years, possibly longer, you know. So this is going to be an interesting story to follow with Russell Westbrook, Wilson, from Seattle. Looks like things are going south there. Aaron Rodgers is already talking about going to a new place. He talked about playing with Pittsburgh. Okay. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, all those guys you can win with. You can win Super Bowls with those guys. You won playoff games with them. So that is all I have tonight. Oh, okay. By the way, Tennessee, Kansas City. I have to talk about that. That is the most complete game since Vrabel's been coaching there. Tennessee touchdown practically underdogs, Buffalo, a team that a lot of people, me included, is going to go far this year, possibly Super Bowl. I did pick Cleveland, of course. And then Kansas City, a lot of people's pick to go back. Tennessee beat both of them in a week span. They are the number 2 seed now after losing the Jets 3 weeks ago. Without Taylor Lewan, Christian Fulton out for the season, Caleb Farley. Tennessee played 2 safeties deep, making Mahomes drive the ball and take checkdowns. Now, kudos to Tennessee for that. Not sure how far they're going to go, but I will say this. On the other side, they were talking about Patrick Mahomes. What's wrong with Patrick Mahomes? It's the same thing I said about Josh Allen a couple of weeks ago. And my dad used to tell me this a lot in golf. There's a saying in golf. You drive for dough, you drive for show, you putt for dough. And I want to say it was Dan Orlovsky from the Get Up show on Monday was pointing out, Pickles, where Mahomes was missing short to intermediate drop down passes, check down passes, just like I've talked to you all about Josh Allen. He doesn't take the simple stuff. Everything can't be a home run. Everything can't be a 25-yard strike. Everything can't lead Sports Center. Sometimes you got to run the football. Sometimes you got to take the check down. That's what makes Tom Brady great. You know, he takes what the defense gives him. He doesn't let his ego get the best of him, you know. And Brady that's why he's 44 years old. You know, if you watch every game like I do, probably too much. Like Jay said, I have to get more balance in my life. That was a really good interview. As far as what his information, I was a little off kilter there, but it's not everything. But I do watch a lot of this game, and guys like Brady, he doesn't really throw a lot of deep passes. He said the other day, he says, I've never had a Hail Mary. I've never had to throw a Hail Mary. I've never hit a Hail Mary is when you throw a ball at the end of the usually at the end of a half or end of a game or whatever, and it's a 50-yard bomb, and your guy catches in the end zone or something. It's like 20. It's a jump ball. Josh Allen's already hit one. Not Allen, but Kyler Murray hit one last year to beat Josh Allen, Buffalo. But you have to take the short game. You know, you have to audible sometimes to the run play. When the defense is spread out and they're playing that zone and you're playing safeties up. The same thing I talked about in the Super Bowl that really cost them. That plus the tackles were out in the Tampa game. You know, and that's what he's got to work. I don't think he's finished. I don't think their playoff chances are finished. They got Chris Jones back. They got Frank Clark and Chris Jones back together. That's why I thought they would win that game. You know, Tennessee, emotional game. Now, Tennessee's played 2 emotional games. I don't know if they're going to beat the Colts on Sunday. But so those are my thoughts of this week. Arizona's legit. I think they're going to win comfortably on Thursday against Green Bay. We're talking about that game at halftime. Looks like Devontae Adams has got a failed COVID test. He needs 2 negative tests there. And Pickles talking about Favre and Murray. Kansas City must run the ball. Yeah, they've got to run the ball. That's something that they've gotten away from. You know, I used to give Jeff Fisher I'm out of Nashville. A lot of crap, a lot of criticisms because of his not wanting to throw the ball enough and running the ball when the box had 8 players in it and stacked up on one side. And I've seen these games in person where I was like, there's no way Steve McNair's not going to call that run to the left with all those linebackers stacked up to that side. And he did. It was like a half a yard run instead of audible out of it and throwing away from the defense. But in life and in football, we all need balance. You still need balance. I don't care. And Brady called it, it's like a skills competition now. You can't get too physical. You can't blast the receivers. It's more of a passing league. But you still have to check down the ball. Yeah, and Pickle says Lazard is going to be out too. So, I think Arizona's going to they're going to roll. They're going to go 7-8-0. It looks like it's going to be an NFC championship game, whether it's going to be in Phoenix or Tampa. And, the fact that, Zach Ertz has already got a touchdown with Arizona. They've got Rondale Moore there. They have A.J. Green. Christian Kirk is a number 2 receiver. And, of course, DeAndre Hopkins. They've got a running game that I complained about not happening. Chase Edmonds. And now James Conner there running the ball. They've got a complete team. And then you've got Simmons, A.J. Simmons at linebacker there. Very good draft pick, Budda Baker. We talk about these guys every week. They're looking to get the best record in the NFC. I could see this coming down to Tampa and Arizona. And, my dad said if Brady's healthy, they'll probably win. That's right, because Brady and that Tampa team, I could see doing a long drive, a 5-minute, 12-play, long, drawn-out drive, perfectly architect, keeping Kyler Murray on the sideline, Brady manipulating Budda Baker, manipulating, calling the delayed handoff to wear down a Chandler Jones, who you used to play with at New England, to wear down a what's that guy's name? I can't see his that other guy that they got from Houston there. J.J. Watt, when he used to play at New England as a Houston Texan. Brady would just outsmart these guys, And I think they would wear that defense down and they would rest their defense, who seems to be getting better. Now, I know Tampa played Chicago with Justin Fields there. But, I can see it playing out where they can, win that out. And out of the AFC, I don't know yet. I don't know. Maybe it could be Cincinnati, Tennessee. Still like Buffalo right now, from what I see. Buffalo is from Josh Allen slipping to being just a one-loss team. And least points allowed still, and most points scored Buffalo before that game. So anyways, guys, if you like the show, share the show. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but the Jay Mills book, Game On by Jay Mills, Mills. Order that. Share with your friends there. It's a good interview there. So have a good night, everybody. I will see you around halftime. Really good game coming up Thursday. We'll talk about that. Preview for next week here on Sports Scope. Thanks for listening.